And we're live. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. This is your Omi Inca 7, Lady Jaguar Throne, also known as Miss Sarah Breedlove. Yes, I have been asked to play the part of Mrs. Sarah Breedlove, better known as Miss Madam C.J. Walker. And I'd like to say that the Historical Society asked me if I'd be interested in applying and auditioning for the role of Mrs. Madam C.J. Walker. Now, we have discussed business, and that whole presentation, and I guess you would call it a series, will be broadcasted in the year of 2019. And I will be auditioning for the cast for the art facilitator to facilitate Mrs. Sarah Breedlove. And it was a rather an honor that came to me when I was asked if I was interested, because they were aware of me playing the part of Mrs. Harriet Tubman. And they wanted much more for me to play the part of Mrs. Madam C.J. Walker, also known as Sarah Breedlove. Now, I know that there's a lot of questions that you would probably have. I am a voiceover specialist and a vocalist, and I have had some classes in acting and was involved in a number of different playwrights. And I was playing some roles for Chicago theater. So one of the things I do know how to do is act. Coming from Westside High School, our school was very adamant about making sure that students in our school had an opportunity to participate in plays and acting. So as a storyteller, I feel that I could very well pick up the parts. I have been an understudy of Mrs. Sarah Breedlove. I've studied immensely on her life, her history, and also how she came into becoming one of the most self-made millionaires of Indianapolis. That's right. The Spirit actually told me that I was to do something very grand in the city of Indianapolis, Indiana. And I didn't know what exactly it was, but I did listen to the Spirit, and I did relocate to this area within the last 2 years. And not knowing exactly where I was supposed to go, I had actually ventured out to talk to the Historical Society about the Madam C.J. Walker studio and why it was not open. I did find out that they were rehabilitating and refurbishing the actual building of the Madam C.J. Walker. However, the Historical Society invited me and urged me to try out for the role of the art facilitator for Mrs. Madam C.J. Walker. That was even a better treat. So I think that the Spirit had led me here because they wanted me to be an understudy of Mrs. Madam C.J. Walker and to study her life. Yes, she was a millionaire, and I have millionaire's taste, so that does qualify me to play her part. And I think I could do her justice. I think I could do her well. It would not be that difficult to understudy her. Most of her books are held in lock and key. And I want to tell you, for anyone that's looking for her books in the library, you will have to stay overnight to study them or take them home just for one night and bring them back. Most of her books are held under lock and key. Now you wonder why, because they're probably studying themselves. How did she become a millionaire? That's $1 billion question, and I figured it out. I figured out her every move and how she became a millionaire. Now, who do you know that has most value and have more millionaires in their race of people than the Caucasian? She was an understudy of the Caucasians, and she spent a lot of time asking them for donations. And do you think they gave it? By golly, yes, they did, because she indicated she was lifting up the Black race of women. and to stop them from being house cleaners and women who were washing clothes. She wanted to elevate her women. And what better person to play that part than myself? I've been all over the world trying to elevate women and lift them up, to give them a chance to advance themselves. So I do have the nature of Mrs. Madam C.J. Walker to elevate my sisters. Now, one of the things she did better than anybody, she could get up and solicit for her own cause and demand that they make donations. And she shamed them so bad that corporations gave expediently, and they gave large sums of money, making her a millionaire. Yes, her product was good. I understand that because of her own hair loss, she decided to create the products with the sulfur in it to grow her hair back expediently. And upon creating these products that would actually grow her own hair back, she was a model herself to exemplify that the products were successful and would work. She actually advertised as the mediator and marketer herself of her own products. And I think that's a great idea. Now, Madam C.J. Walker spent a lot of time here in the state and city of Indianapolis, Indiana. She favored this city. And for some reason, there were a lot of millionaires here. And every year, she promised to give a basket back to all those poor people and to feed them. And she stuck to her word. She was an example here in Indianapolis, and that's a great thing. And I aim to find out a lot more of where she spent her time and who she had apt to have leisure with, and who did she rub shoulders with, and just what did she do with her $1 million, and what was her investments? Did she invest in other things other than hair products, or was it merely building her business? So as I began to research and read her bibliography and find out more about Mrs. Sarah Breedlove, I found that she also married. And the man that she married literally was coaching her and managing her and giving her the direction, which she followed to the T. Now, we must understand that when you are about to do something grand, you do need a man over you to cover your head. If you can't cover your head with a man, then put a head rag on and cover your head. But your head must be covered because there's a lot of people looking out to take advantage of you. And if you don't have a man to speak up and to market for you, it just so happened that her very husband was in advertising, and he actually put it in the newspaper so he could advertise her business. He had an opportunity to take her under his wing and to advertise about her products, her hair products, and they would regularly advertise these products throughout the news. So he was her marketing rep and her financial guy. The great thing that you ought to know is that they were in duality. Most couples that do well have years of time together and they work in duality. I know this because you marry and you unite for a business partnership, and you go into a marriage with the understanding that it is a business partnership. Nobody really loves anybody when they first get married, and I'm sure Sarah Breedlove wasn't in love with anyone when she first got married. She saw an opportunity with him being her business partner and being able to elevate her in the news and market her product. That was a great match. I think I'm a great match for that because I've been with the same man for over 45 years, okay? Granted that there was a little span of time when we were separated, but nevertheless, he's been my friend for over 45 years. We are partners in crime. We've built empires together. We've built houses together. So what better part to play than Mrs. Sarah Breedlove? I took honor in transitioning from Harriet Tubman to Miss Sarah Breedlove. Now, you know Harriet had a little money in her pocket too. She wasn't poor. And Sarah Breedlove, she wined and dined with the most finest. And she also had a daughter who worked with her and stayed close by her side. And she was the first woman to drive in a brand new fancy car. And she drove the most finest cars. And she enticed her own people to lift themselves up by the bootstrap by virtue of her lifestyle. Now, I ain't playing Mrs. Sarah Breedlove to a T. Now, I want to tell you that there is Mrs. Octavia Spencer that's out there that's working with LeBron James, where they have actually come together in LeBron James Entertainment, Springfield Entertainment session, where they've already created this summer on a series now of Mrs. Madam C.J. Walker's lifestyle. Now, I'm not afraid to compete with those professionals out there. I'm a professional in my own way because I've been acting all my life, and a storyteller, genuinely a storyteller. Once I know the character, you don't even need to give me the part. I will memorize who they are and ad-lib who that person is. It's not that hard to exemplify a $1 million woman who carries $1 million taste, because I've always carried $1 million taste, and most people thought I was royalty. Yes, they did, by virtue of the way I was treated. And I know that I was royalty. So this is the role for me, because the ancestors, they came and woke me up. Sherelle Garth, go to Indianapolis, Indiana. There's something that you must do. And when the time is right, you must move there and transition from your retirement there. I didn't know why I was coming here. I had no idea, but I knew it was something here that I was supposed to do. And when I converse with the Historical Society, they asked me if I was a historian. I said, why, yes, I'm a historian. I tell stories all the time, and I do ad-lib people's life. And I'm doing a one-woman show for Miss Harriet Tubman. They said, oh, really? Oh, you should try out for the role, the facilitator's actor's role for Mrs. Madam C.J. Walker, better known as Sarah Breedlove. I said, I know all about her. And I know her dearly, and I can play her. Oh, yes, I can. They said our funds are rather low, and hopefully our funds will, get better by next year, and you'll be ready to play the part. I said, more than ready. I will have a series of satires set aside. Now, I didn't know why my son was feverishly learning cameras and television and using his engineering background to videotape me. He was the first one to put me on videotape and said, Mom, let me videotape your show. He videotaped the very show for me. I had no idea he was getting ready and preparing himself for the most important job in the world outside of his engineering, and that was to do a series with his mother. And not to mention that the buddy school that I have, the language buddy school and entertainment that I have, I've been an actor on stage for more than a century, and I've learned how to act very well on stage and put on a show. And that's what I'll be putting on for Mrs. Sarah Breedlove as I play her part. Now, some will say, oh, but you've had no acting ability. But yes, I have. All during high school, I've had acting ability right there at Westside High School. It was just waiting for me to happen. I've always been an artist, went to school to become a visual design artist, so acting has always been in my blood. Now, why do you think I should play Mrs. Sarah Breedlove? And what questions do you have for me? You're probably wondering if I know anything about this woman, and can I play her role rather feverishly, and what do I have to tell the audience about her? Well, there's a lot I have to tell the audience about her. And I think because she's from my very own hometown here in Indiana, I think I have a lot to say about her. Some of the people have asked questions already, and I like to go through some of the questions that they've asked. They asked, did Mrs. C.J. Walker get married? Let me see what the survey says. It says, at 14, she married Moses McWilliam to escape abuse from her cruel brother-in-law, Jesse Powell. Her only daughter, Leah, later known as Elia Walker, was born on June 6, 1885. In 1905, Sarah moved to Denver. Let's see here. Now, see, they just completely took that off from me, but I'm gonna just kind of ad lib a little bit. Okay. As I was saying, she had a daughter, and her daughter was Leila Walker. She was born on June 6, 1885. In 1905, Sarah moved to Denver as a sales agent for a Malone. Then she married her third husband, Charles Joseph Walker, a St. Louis newspaper man. Now, that newspaper man that I was telling you about that did advertisement, boy, was he a special for Mrs. C.J. Walker. He could get her information out, and he was the paper man, and that's who she needed. Madam C.J. Walker needed him so much. Now, let's see how much Madam C.J. Walker is worth. By 1907, the washerwoman who had earned, she was a washerwoman. She did laundry. And by golly, I used to clean houses for teachers and bachelors, my first very job. Okay. She couldn't get rich off of that. By 1907, the washerwoman who had earned $300, mind you, $300 a year was earning $300 a month when she died of kidney disease. She perished because of kidney disease. She could have bought her a kidney. Her net worth of $600,000 made her a millionaire in myth. Made her a millionaire in myth. Now, as I was saying, she died of kidney failure, and her net worth was $600 million. Isn't it? Now, I want to say this. Her daughter played a very important role in her life. She worked very close with her Leah Walker. However, Madam C.J. Walker died before Leah did. And as I began to study Madam C.J. Walker, they traveled a lot. They were on the road a lot, traveling from city to city, instituting her business, getting Black women ready to work independently on their own. She made them consultants, and they went around advertising and marketing her product for her. And she took them out of the jobs of being washwomen. Just like I was taken out of the job of being a house cleaner and also a washwoman for the teachers that I service. It was very vital that you start your life in a humble beginning and advance yourself up to higher fortitude. Now, Madam C.J. Walker, also Sarah Breedlove, she married for the third time her husband, Mr. Walker, and she found out through all of the work that he was doing in the newspaper that it would give her an edge because she could get the information and the word out the night before and get all of her stuff published and marketed. So they had their own columns in the newspaper. That was something that Black people weren't able to do, have access to literary review or have access to the newspaper, to the media. Now, let me say this much. I'm at an advantage because I have a best friend that is an actual media specialist, and he would love to feature Mother on anything she's doing. He's done a great job in featuring me in several different series that will be coming out shortly. Now, I aim to do some short, brief segments and satires, and I aim to do Mrs. Walker good. And I aim to do the video recording right here in my home. Yes, in my lovely little quarters, my little quaint duplex, I aim to do her good. It's not a castle like she was accustomed to living in, but she had some problems with her home. She had some problems with the white racist society, giving her a hard time in her community, moving from place to place. Yes, housing was a problem for Mrs. Madam C.J. Walker, even though she was one of the richest women and her self-worth was over $6 million. Yes, when she died, she could have bought herself 2 kidneys if she wanted to. She had enough money coming in, but her kidneys failed her. Now, she was on the road quite a bit, driving the spiffiest new Ford cars and getting the top of the line cars. People automatically thought she was rich by virtue of the cars she drove around in. And sometimes she couldn't stay in the hotels where there were white people, and they had to be put up in certain communities. Her driving was, in essence, it was important that she could get from state to state. But nevertheless, she had to make contact with other Blacks in those communities so that she could stay there overnight when she was there on her job. Now, granted that she didn't stick with the first husband because she had to get away from him. He was rather abusive. And her second husband, she had to get away from him too. And then finally, when she married Mr. Walker, she thought that things were going to be going all right. Now, let me see if there's any other questions that people wanted to ask about Madam C.J. Walker. I'm still doing some studying on her, and I'm not completely finished. But what I will say is this. I am suited for playing Mrs. Madam C.J. Walker. I have the taste of a rich woman, and most people know that. I like to do everything in style. And I am one of the finest chefs and can throw down in the kitchen. So I aim to bring some sessions around her engagement when she was eating and dining with some of the most finest. Now, I got to also find out what was she doing here in Indianapolis. What was her main obligation? She saw a lot of people that was down in the muds and down on their luck that were Black. And she wanted to help them. She did everything she could to lift her people up. I know she did. She's a lot like I am. She's a chip off the old block. I love my people. And that's one of the shortcomings that sometimes we can have, loving our people too much. But I want to teach them, just like she did, how to work for themselves and how to come out of these washwoman jobs and wash up their hands with working for other people and deciding to work as an independent entrepreneur for themselves. And that's exactly what Mrs. Sarah Breedlove did. She put the spirit in them of being entrepreneurs and working for themselves under her franchise, of course, with her leading and guiding them and showing them how they can have a little piece of the action by buying into her franchise and selling her product. She had many legs out there marketing her product for her. That was the beauty in what she was doing. She was one of the first franchisees who set up shop and hired women to come in to go out into every territory, to every state, and to every valley, and to go and market this product by virtue of how long it had grown Mrs. Sarah Breedlove's hair. She had lost some of her hair. She had actually gone bald in some spots. And this product that she committed to, she put lots of things in it like sulfur that will grow the hair. Most women don't like to use sulfur. They put it in, then they wash it out. It carries a smell to it and an odor. So you can't find a lot of women today using sulfur, like sulfur 8. They'll use it and get rid of it and wash it out. But Sarah found a way to put that sulfur in your hair where you didn't have to wash it out. And she grew her hair back. So she was a prime example of what she could do. So when she sported all over this country, they said, my God, look at her lovely hair. Look at what it's done for her. I know what it'll do for me. So she became the #1 market of the century, of all times. Yes, she did. And I was so proud of her. And I was just amazed at how these librarians were keeping all of her books locked up in a cabinet. When I asked to check it out, they said, oh no, you have to go in our sitting room and you have to read the book there. I said, what do you mean? Because so many of the books have walked off. We can't afford to let these leave us. You can only check it out overnight, but you must bring it back tomorrow. I then began to wonder, are they studying Mrs. Sarah Breedlove also? Are they trying to find out what she was all about so that they can create their own millionaires? Oh my God. Mrs. Sarah Breedlove, she walked all over this town here in Indianapolis. And she also sported a fine, fancy new car. I'm going to find out where were the places that she hung out. And I'm going to put on the air as if I am just like Miss Sarah Breedlove. I'm going to dress up for the occasion. Oh, yeah. I'm going to sport some of the most finest clothes. My daughter and I both, Leah Walker, will be with me as we sport our way through Indianapolis, Indiana, and then we go downtown on the broad walk just to take a horse and buggy. I want to take me a horse and buggy. I want to travel all around town. I want to hear those hubs go click, clock, click, clock. I want to travel all around town. I'm going to take me a horse and a buggy. I'm going to travel all around town. I'm going to hear those hubs go click, clock, click, clock. I'm going to travel all around town. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Oh, yeah. Somebody say, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, this is my opportunity. This is my opportunity. It is never too late for you to come into your own. Oh, no. Sometimes we have to come out of these classrooms early to find ourselves. Sometimes we're locked down in these classrooms and we don't even rise to the level of the occasion. We have got to leave early and put our retirement papers in and come on out and do our thing. I'm about ready to do my thing, as Sarah Breedlove would say. Oh, yes, girls, we're about ready to do our thing. Because she took a lot of people with her when they went traveling. And she made sure a lot of women made a lot of money. And I aim to teach a lot of women how to make some money. Oh, yes, didn't y'all know it? They sent me clear overseas to Germany to help women make money and to establish their own family child cares. And I showed them how to put it together. I showed them their house to rent and to set their budget up so that they could market themselves as entrepreneurs and get off the welfare system and stop working for the man. And I showed them how to become independent, just like Miss Broadmoor did, just like Sarah Breedlove did, is what I meant to say. But I want you to know, I'm not afraid of Octavia Spencer. If she can speak, I can speak. I got just as much going on as she does. I've been acting all my life. Yes, I have, in the classroom and with the children. And I am the stage theater. I've written so many stage plays in school that I can write my own stage play of Mrs. Sarah Breedlove. Oh, yes, I can. No, I'm not afraid because I have my son with me and he'll be saying, Mom, turn your face to the left. Hold your head up a little bit higher. Hold your head up. I can hear him now saying, Mom, let's get this thing going. And at the same time, I'll have my dear daughter with me, Leah Walker. She will be sporting with her mother and learning everything she can as an understudy. Oh, yes, I'm ready for Mrs. Sarah Breedlove, Mrs. Madam C.J. Walker. And boy, I've never created any hair products, but I've created a lot of other things. But I guess you know, I'm into natural hair products, and I can market the heck out of a natural hair product. Put you some natural hair grease on there, darling, and take all that gook off where you're trying to glue on somebody else's horse hair. Oh no, we're going to show you how to grow that hair out, baby. We're going to show you how to get it slicker than Slick Rick himself. And we're going to show you how to model that hair and flaunt that hair and flaunt that hair. We're going to give it all to you, baby. All you have to do is hang with Mrs. Sarah Breedlove, better known as Madam C.J. Walker. Here in Indianapolis is where I be. And here in Indianapolis is where I came to rediscover myself and to find my women who needed a brand new touch so that they can stand on their own and they can begin to be entrepreneurs for themselves, and they can take my product and market it all over town. And as they're marketing my product, they can also market their own hairstyle, because they're going to have to use my product if they're going to market my stuff. You can't very well be marketing Miss Madam C.J. Walker stuff and using somebody else's hair product. Now, can you? I don't think so. So I want to tell those ladies out there, whoever they are, Netflix or not, we're going to have a series of Miss Madam C.J. Walker's presentation of her profile, of her life history. That's right, darling. Oh, yeah. Somebody say, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, you're going to put those wash tubs down. You're going to come out of those kitchens, and you're going to learn how to work for yourself and be your own boss. I'm just going to be a franchise, and you will be the franchisee using my products to market all over town. And taking yourself a horse and a buggy, riding in a fine, fancy new car, because I'm going to accentuate on every one of you. And when you reach a certain product number of selling my products, I'm going to get all of you a fancy, fine new car so you can represent Miss Madam C.J. Walker right. Am I telling it like a TI is, y'all? Yeah! Oh, yeah! See, I even got a fan club out there that's ready to boost me on. Now, you think I'm afraid of Mrs. Octavia and LeBron James and what they've been doing this summer? That's their business. They minding their business. Madam C.J. Walker belongs to all of us. Let me let you know that now. Ain't nobody got no cap on Madam C.J. Walker. She's our black people, and we all can introduce her, and we can all fabricate her and duplicate her. But may the best man win. That's the real story. Maybe Octavia has played in a lot of movies like The Help and other movies called Hidden, but she just beginning to play Miss Madam C.J. Walker. I've been in the line of business of hair ownership all my life, with all 11 of us girls and 2 of them owning their own beauty salon. And I have been a hairdresser, washing hair and rolling hair. I know all about hair. If I don't know anything else, I know about hair. So I am the right person to audition for Miss Madam C.J. Walker, because I want these women to learn that Madam C.J. Walker created this product just for them. This product is created for those women who've gone bald and who's lost their hair, trying to add some hair, bond it and weave it. So now they can just take a notion just to leave it, to air dry that is, so they can go and tend to their biz. You better get you some. Or just give me some more money so I don't have to blow. If for things that I can simply let go, you better give me some more. because I aim to get rich playing this part of Miss Madam C.J. Walker, taking this show all over town. They're going to think that Madam C.J. Walker, Sarah Breedlove herself, done come back from the dead. Oh, Lord, is that Sarah Breedlove? She done come back from the dead. Oh, help me, dear Jesus. She is really here. The ancestors has brought her back. That's right. When you play the role, you got to reinactivate that person. You got to call that person's spirit from the grave to play it. You just can't get out there on the stage and tell me, I'm fit to play Miss Sarah Breedlove. Miss Sarah Breedlove, you can't get out on the stage and just do that for money. It's got to be in you. It's got to be in you. I was called to this occasion. I was called in my sleep. The ancestors say, go to Indianapolis. And I hadn't been here since I graduated from college. And I knew it was something special I had to do here. And the Historical Society knew it too. So they offered me the opportunity of trying out for Mrs. Sarah Breedlove. And I didn't even have to ask them. They knew what I was here for. They knew what I was here to do. And isn't it grand when somebody knows that you have walked the path here and you're the one? They said, you're the one that should play that part. I said, no, I play Harriet Tubman. I play Harriet Tubman. They said, no, you've been called to play Miss Sarah Breedlove, and we're asking you to try out for that part. We don't have the money right now to get it going this year, but we're going to get started next year. I said, very well. I will start my assignment in advance, and I will start putting together my satires. And my son and I, in our production, we will set up and establish, and we'll teach many other young people the oratory of a language and speaking, and we will help them to come into their own. And while I'm occupying, preparing for Mrs. Sarah Breedlove, I will be training other young people in the skills and arts of theater. Thank God that he's given us the equipment. Our only need is a studio. And if need be, my home will become the studio. And this will be the stage. And we will use this stage to reactivate Mrs. Sarah Breedlove. Move over, Octavia Spencer, because Sherelle Garth is coming to compete for your role. Maybe not on Netflix, but we'll create our own haven and our own briefing of Miss Sarah Breedlove. And I will give you a show you had never had ever seen. I will give you more than what you can bargain for, because Miss Sarah Breedlove is going to become the understudy of Sherelle M. Garth. And you best to believe it, also known as Omi Inca 7, Zanu. I'll be bringing it to you proper, kind of like showing you what Mrs. Breedlove did here in Indianapolis, how she made her money, what she invested her money in, and how she helped her women friends to establish themselves as an entrepreneur. You can't get no better than Sherelle Garth, because there's nobody out there can work as hard as I work. I'm one of the hardest working persons in showbiz. You best to believe it. If you don't know, you better what? Ask somebody. That's right. I have a fan club of over 3,000 friends and over 3,000 followers. And when I get them on the scene, they'll be marketing for Sherelle M. Garth to play Miss Sarah Breedlove as Madam C.J. Walker. One thing you need on your side is friends, and I have a lot of them. I will say associates, not all of them that I know, but I will say associates, and they know of the 10 years of work that I've been doing on the airways. And when you got a fan club for over 9 years on Facebook and almost 10 years on Blog Talk, that's all you need to market who you are. And I don't know if Mrs. Octavia is even on Facebook. I don't know if she has that type of support or media. But one thing I know, I'm like E.F. Hutman. When Sherelle talks, they want to listen. So when I produce this program, whether it be on Facebook, whether it be on YouTube, it will be a series And boy, is it going to be something to contend with, because I'm going to be showing some of the most intimate parts that you've never known about Mrs. Madam C.J. Walker. As an understudy, I'm going to pull out her whole life history. And some of the parts that you may not think are just elegant, and some of the parts that you may not know about. But it will give you a better glimpse into a millionaire's life. And millionaire to another. She will wake up these Black women that have the spirit of a millionaire, and they can rise to the level of the occasion. This is an opportunity to wake up some of these women who are doing business for themselves and realize what it took for Mrs. Sarah Breedlove to become a millionaire. What was her gimmick? What was her speciality? What did she use to go to these major white corporations to shame them, to remind them that they needed to make a donation to her organization to help other Black women to lift themselves up by the bootstrap? What did she tell them? What did she whisper in their ear? And when she got in the pulpit and she stood up and she said, I want every one of y'all in here to give a donation to Madam C.J. Walker's products. All I do is try to make sure that my sisters have an opportunity to get involved in a franchise and to work for themselves and stop washing clothes for other people in that wash tub. And I want every one of you to give a donation. You talk about uplifting our race and helping us to show us that you want us to do better. Now's your time to give your donation. Take your wallets out and make your donation. And do your due diligence, because you are a Christian and you cannot give to corporations like my own. What kind of people are you that tell us to lift ourselves up and then go back and help our brothers when you can't give a donation? Give a donation and give till it hurts, because this is where it begins. And this is how we lift our brothers and sisters up. This is what Sarah Breedlove would do to the audience that she speaks. And she would travel all over the creation to get to these speakeasies to tell them, yes, I am Miss Madam C.J. Walker, also known as Sarah Breedlove. And I have lifted up myself, and I have lifted up myself in spite of the idiosyncrasies that comes with life and the shortcomings. I've lifted myself up, and I've manufactured a product that is being used in every beauty salon right now. And if any woman has lost her hair because of stupidity on her own, I can grow it back. I can show her how to get her hair back. Buy my products and look beautiful and elegant like I am, the queen that I am. If you want to live a life like a queen, you got to live a life like Madam C.J. Walker. And I'm here to tell you that once you try my products, you won't turn back to any other. And that is Sarah Breedlove's message to you. Now, that's how Miss Sarah Breedlove would be talking to the audience. Now, if I have to get enrolled to convince you that this part is mine here in Indianapolis and in other states and nearby neighboring states, I will be traveling to your hometown to talk about Miss Madam C.J. Walker's lifestyle. I'll be ready before they have the audition. I would have already won the position because of the work I'm about to do now. It's always good to get up early and start early. And can't nobody beat me getting up early and working the hardest, because I'm one of the hardest working persons in the showbiz. Yes, I was a gospel singer and performed on stage all over Europe and in a dedication to Princess Diana. What an honor it was to be able to sing for her. But what a greater honor it was than to be able to put on my own show for 4 days there in the lovely little city of Varswick. Right there, they gave me the keys to the city after we performed and brought all of our friends in to support us. And if nothing else, it was a transition into doing some secular music, transitioning from traditional gospel. So I've had some experience. I've had some professional opportunities on the stage. So I'm not afraid to get on the stage and to act the part and to be the person that I am is a character. I can get into character, and it's not a problem for me to transition into Mrs. Sarah Breedlove as Madam C.J. Walker. Hair products is something that I know a lot about, and I can do her justice by naming the formula and looking at the caustic products in her hair product. It's very important that when you play the role, you know everything about that person, down to her product line and down to the ingredients. Oh yes, I'll be ready. And you're going to have an opportunity to experience a local girl who's able to play a professional role up against somebody like Mrs. Octavia Spencer, who is a professional. I want to give her credit for that. She's played in many movies, and I saw her in The Help, and I know she has what it takes. But I'm not afraid to compete with her. I'm just a local girl, and right beside her, I'll look professional too. Because West Side High builds entertainers, they build actors, and I know that all the work that I went through there and learning about skillfulness and being ready, and I'm more than seasoned now because I'm ready for this role because it was waiting for me all along, and the ancestors had to tap me on the shoulder. Sherelle, you're to go to Indianapolis. You're going to play a role, and you're going to be on the road. Why me? Because you're seasoned and you're ready for this opportunity. And because we handpicked you, handpicked me. People that didn't even know me asked me to go out for the part. They asked me to lay down, had Tubman to lay it down for a minute just to play Sarah Breedlove. I said, no, Minty got to be out there. You can't ask Minty to stop going underground and playing hair. You can't ask Minty to do that. I said, well, I'll do it in addition to playing Harriet Tubman, because Harriet Tubman got to be heard. So I'll do it in addition. And that way, I'll have more than one role to play. Harriet Tubman and Sarah Breedlove. Harriet Tubman and Sarah Breedlove. Oh, yeah. Somebody say, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. See, you got to understand when you got a comical person that is in the market for playing outstanding women, you got the right one this time. You really got the right one this time, I'm telling you. And it's very vital that you should understand that I'm more ready now than ever before. And this is going to be my name and claim to fame, because I know it. I feel it in my spirit. The ancestors have spoken in my sleep. They have called me in the night and said, you're Sarah Breedlove. Now go out there and play that role and do her justice. And I know when the spirit tells me something, I'm obedient. And I'm going to heed to the spirit of the ancestors. And I'm going to bring back Mrs. Sarah Breedlove, because there are many broken and contrite spirits here in the city of Indianapolis, Indiana. They were down in the trenches, discriminated against, one of the most discriminated towns in all of the metropolitan areas. They weren't allowed to integrate the white schools. They weren't allowed to advance themselves outside of the bottom of Indianapolis. And Sarah Breedlove wanted to just give them a basket of food to let them know she still loved them, to let them know that she wanted to uplift their race and give them an opportunity to come from down in the bottom. And when I read about these people that were down in the bottom and how they were accentuated to one area, redlining, keeping them from going anywhere, they built themselves a school and they made it mighty than anything you could think of. And all the greatness that came out of that school here for the blacks here in Indianapolis, all the greatness that upsprung itself and representatives from all walks of life and professions came up out of that school, it did us proud to know that when you try to put your foot on the backs of Black people and on their necks and keep them down, they will rise to the top, showing the best that they have to give. And they did that here in Indianapolis when they rose to the top in basketball. And then they rose to the top in all their industries and profession. And when they left Indianapolis, they had a name for themselves, and they carried that name, and it made Indianapolis famous. It made Indianapolis outstanding because those few Black people that rose up out of that one Black high school made this town known and gave this town a name for itself. And I'm sure that Sarah Breedlove wanted to keep on lifting up the people here in Indianapolis because they were down so low and they couldn't go any lower. She wanted to lift them up and give them a little piece of what she had. And I'm hoping and praying that they don't fail her, that they continue to lift themselves up, because she was a motivator and she was an activist, and her desire to come here to this town that was so hung up on Jim Crow laws, that was so depreciating in human values, she came here to motivate and to lift up and to fight the system. And she told me in her own words, continue to fight, my sister. Fight on, my sister. Fight on. Because Madam C.J. Walker's business here was not just about hair product. It was about an activation of activating our Black people to do for self and to lift themselves up. And they are still crying out about the story of Madam C.J. Walker, but nobody has told the story here in this town. But I aim to tell it because she had something to give, and she gave all she had to her Black people to lift them up. And so when they went to different states, this city was known by virtue of the Black high school that had built all kinds of industries of people who were flight attendants, who were pilots, who were scientists. When they left that school, they did this city good. And then they came back and wanted to infiltrate the school and take the school away. That's just how white supremacists does when they're trying to walk on the backs of Black people and make money off them. But Madam C.J. Walker didn't have to give them a penny of her money. And I aim to find out about her products, who's selling them, and who's manufacturing and benefiting from her product now. I aim to find out this here in this town. But Madam C.J. Walker wanted those Black women to come out of those degrading jobs and to uplift themselves to work for self. And I'm telling you, if you're one of those women that is in a degrading job here in Indianapolis, lift yourself up, because Madam C.J. Walker, she paid the price so that you might be able to stand up and be your own entrepreneur, and you can set yourself up and establish yourself through selling her products. And I want you to know that Omi Inca, Sherelle Garth will be in the neighborhood and be throughout Indianapolis to talk to women about uplifting themselves and upgrading themselves to a higher state and a deeper walk and a closer walk with the ancestors. Go in peace and look for the new series with Madam C.J. Walker, played as Sherelle Omi Inca Garth. Thank you so much for your listening, audience. Thank you. And I bid you farewell. Oh, double. And Baba Booey to you, y'all.